What is going on, guys? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons why intermittent fasting helps you burn fat and keep it off. Some of these things have been mentioned in previous videos, but I'm going to go ahead and compile everything together in a really compact list so that you understand why intermittent fasting is working very well. Let's go ahead and break that down in this video. Stay tuned. Okay, let's quickly jump into it. First thing that we're going to talk about is your Gremlin levels. Gremlin levels seem to reduce during intermittent fasting or during the times that you're fasting. The circadian rhythm actually dictates a lot of your Gremlin secretion, but the rhythm in which you eat also dictates Gremlin secretion. So if you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your Gremlin release will happen during the times of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, making you hungry and putting you in this endless rhythm of eating during those times. Period. That's what makes getting into intermittent fasting initially very difficult, because the Gremlin secretion that is coming out of your body is asking you to eat during those specific times. It is only after you break that pattern that the Gremlin levels start to regulate itself. It starts to readjust to the new system that you're providing it. So if you start eating now from just in the morning and then you don't eat during the lunch and dinner time, or you eat during the midday but you don't eat in the morning and you don't eat at night, your Gremlin level will start to adjust to when you are actually eating. That is also why when you're doing intermittent fasting and you've set a schedule for yourself and you have a specific time frame, that you start to feel hungry during that specific time frame, and then you no longer feel hungry after that. That's when you're in the smooth sailing aspect of your intermittent fasting protocol. It becomes much easier, and usually this process takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get into that rhythm. Keep in mind, it's not the same thing as fat adaptation, where your body is incredibly efficient with utilizing fat for energy, which makes intermittent fasting even easier, but that takes a bit longer to get to utilizing the intermittent fasting protocol over time. But regulating your hormone via the Gremlin secretion definitely gets you into the correct rhythm. And if you didn't know, Gremlin is the hunger hormone. That's the hormone that tells you that you are hungry, which is what makes you eat more. So if you reduce the amount of times that your Gremlin is secreting or going at a higher level throughout the day, and increase the amount of times where your Gremlin is reducing throughout the day, that you are at a better position hormonally to eat less or be inclined to eat much less. Now let's move on to the second reason why intermittent fasting helps you burn fat and keep it off. Compressing your meals to a smaller window. When you compress your meals to a smaller window, you can be more aware of how much you're actually eating, how much calories you're actually taking in. Remember, guys, although you're doing intermittent fasting, calorie intake still matters, and being able to have the meals in front of you in a way that's more impactful for you to understand how much more you're actually eating or how much less you're eating is very beneficial for you. If you spread your meals throughout the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with snacks in between, it becomes much harder to kind of understand and discern how much you're actually taking in, how much you're actually consuming, which can lead to overeating just because you think you're eating less than you are. When you compress everything to a smaller window and you create a barrier where you cannot eat after your feeding window or before your feeding window, you become much more efficient at allocating the calories and knowing how much you're actually taking in. And let's say you're gung-ho about not counting calories, you're going to be better equipped in a system that compresses meals to a smaller time window than being able to eat throughout the entire day. Bouncing off of that, we move on to the third one, which is more cognitive awareness of the nutrition that's on your plate. Because of the fact that you are eating in a smaller window, you are also more aware of what you're eating, not just in terms of calories, but in terms of nutrients. If you wanted to control what you were eating in terms of the macronutrient content, and also if you wanted to add more fiber, for example, if you wanted to add more vegetables, if you wanted to create a healthier meal setup, the best thing you can actually do is have that compression, because you'll know exactly what you're eating. And the healthier you eat, the better your body responds hormonally to hunger hormones and leptin hormones, which is the satiety hormone, the hormone that tells you that you're full. So just the meal timing structure of an intermittent fasting protocol can facilitate that system where you are eating what you should be eating as opposed to eating things that you shouldn't be eating. Now, I know a lot of people utilize intermittent fasting and eat junk food, but if you were smart, you would utilize intermittent fasting and still find a way to eat healthy foods. And what better way to do it than having it be compressed so that you can see exactly what you're eating. Not just how much you're eating, but also what you're eating. Now let's go ahead and move on to number 4, muscle retention. Study after study has shown that muscle is actually retained better in participants that utilize the intermittent fasting protocol. And the reason that this happens is because the body is partitioning the calories. Because you are elevating fat burning, the body is burning more body fat and retaining more muscle. There's a difference between building muscle and retaining muscle. Building muscle requires certain things like protein synthesis, which meal frequency actually helps to elevate protein synthesis. But retaining muscle, that is a completely different ball game. Yes, you want to make sure that you're working out, as working out is one of the most important factors to retaining muscle. But in the studies where there are groups who are fasting versus those who are not fasting, those who are fasting tend to retain muscle better than the groups who are not fasting. Fasting promotes heavy fat burning. So the calories that are being pushed out of your body are being directly targeted to your body fat, which optimizes your performance because muscle retention and muscle in and of itself is metabolically active. It is actually the primary driver for your metabolic rate. And because it is the primary driver for your metabolic rate, thus you are keeping your metabolic rate at a higher level. So when you are at a caloric restriction, you are kind of reducing your metabolic rate because of metabolic adaptation, because of adaptive thermogenesis. And because this is happening, you are offsetting it to a certain extent by retaining more muscle. So thus, more muscle on your body actually helps you burn more fat and keep it off. And because intermittent fasting helps retain muscle, intermittent fasting in and of itself adds more elements to burning body fat and keeping it off. And now let's move on to the final point. And this final point should be no news to anyone who's been following my channel or anything regarding intermittent fasting, is the reduction in insulin. Yes, it isn't only just insulin that helps facilitate this body fat loss and keeping the body fat off, but that hormone plays a big role because when insulin is reduced, the body can then release body fat. When insulin is high, the body retains body fat. What you do when you do intermittent fasting is you create these periods of fasting and these periods of eating. And the periods of fasting is what allows your body to do that metabolic switch over. Once it switches over and it's no longer utilizing glucose for energy and it starts to use the body fat for energy, starts to utilize ketones, that's when your body is focusing more efforts on burning body fat than anything else. You're more inclined to burn body fat during the times when you're sleeping because of the fact that you are fasting during your sleep. Those 8 to 9 hours that you're getting during your sleep is allowing you to actually burn some body fat. But with intermittent fasting, you create a system where you're fasting for longer periods of time and reducing your insulin for longer than just 8 or 9 hours. These things continue to add elements that help you burn more fat and keep it off. So those were the top 5 reasons why intermittent fasting not only helps you burn fat, but it also helps you keep it off. There are so many other reasons why intermittent fasting helps you burn fat and keep it off, and there's also so many other health factors that come into play that could assist with burning body fat and keeping it off. But those were the top 5 that I felt were the most important and why you're actually seeing this change, even if you were utilizing other diet protocols that didn't work for you, like eating 6 meals a day or doing something like Weight Watchers or some other specific diet protocol that didn't work for you. But then when doing intermittent fasting, it does work for you. Those are the top 5 things that I believe make the difference for why intermittent fasting is so successful for you. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I want to thank my patrons from my Patreon. I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And of course, as always, guys, I'll see you on Sunday for another FAQ. Peace!